Our next speakers are the co-founders of O3 Labs. They're working on a really cool wallet platform. Andrei Terentiev has a bachelor's in computer science from Stanford. He's worked in various Tokyo-based payment startups before developing O3. And Apisit Tumbakti is a software engineer and system architect. He's passionate about mobile apps, payments, messaging, user experiences, and is obsessed with the small details. So please give a warm welcome to Andrei Terentiev and Apisit Tumbakti.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? And we are O3. Anybody have O3 app on the phone? Ooh, thanks. Yeah. So if you don't have one, download it so you can receive the 500 ontology in there. Yes.
It's up there.
Oh, here we go. Sorry. Yeah. So here's Andrei Terentiev and myself, Apisit Tumbakti. We are based in Tokyo, Japan. Our office probably like right around the bottom left here. And we believe that Japan is the more progressive country in terms of the regulation. And with that said, it will be the key role for us to push the blockchain forward for the smart economy. Yep, I'm going to start with this. Cryptocurrency and the blockchain interface are a nightmare. So if you are one of the developers that makes this app, we are sorry. Yeah, so like this app, right? So like they built for the people that already know what they're doing. So there are buttons everywhere. And like with the most average user, they probably like, oh, which button should I click? They probably like have no idea about like what the difference between the full node and the light node, right? So yeah, so it looks like the early day of the internet that we got the browser that looks like this, the Mosaic, if anyone remember. It does one thing very well, access the information on somebody else's computer, right? And then we got the better one, which looks like this. So we let you access the information and bookmark the website. So that's amazing. It's like the huge step forward. So nowadays, we have the modern browser that looks like this. So it allows you to do many things like making music, making memes, making animated memes, and access information. And which this kind of advanced browser, right, is the thing that drives the internet adoption forward. So we at O3, we built O3 to drive the blockchain forward because we realized that the user need a better blockchain interface. So they need it today, but in fact, like they actually need it yesterday. So you may notice that we don't really use the word wallet here, and that because of wallet is a misnomer. So with the average user, when we say wallet, the real expectation is they think about the physical wallet that store the money, right? So, but in reality, the wallet store your private key, and it allows you to access the value, access the data on the blockchain. So with that misconception, we got the question like this. So these are the questions that we received from our user. So like, can I store the NEP5 token in this wallet? Technically, your NEP5 token is stored on the blockchain, and you use O3 app to access the NEP5 token and manage the NEP5 token. If I delete the app, will I lose my fund? So no and yes. If you delete the app, you will probably not going to delete anything on the blockchain. But if you delete the app and not having the access to your private key, you may lose your fund, right? So, and can I sync the fund with the Neon wallet? Yes, so with the exact same private key, you can use that private key to access your data on the blockchain from a different software like Neon wallet or the other wallet. So with that said, what we actually built is a gateway. It's a gateway to the neo smart economy on the most powerful personal computer in your pocket, which is the mobile device, is your smartphone. So we built a gateway to access and manage your data on the blockchain. So when we think about it, blockchain is here to provide the value for us to access the data, right? So we can think as like blockchain is a value reservoir. So today, your data, including your personal data, your personal identity, is stored and duplicated on many different centralized databases. And we have the better idea of doing it, right? So like we think the better way of doing this is to store your data on the secure, public, decentralized databases, which is a blockchain. So which only you should be able to access that data, and only you should be able to manage or give permission to whoever you want to have an access to your data. So that was the overview of what we are building. So I'm going to get into the nerdy stuff, like talking about our app, O3. O3 on both platforms. We are on Android and on iOS. We use Kotlin. For Android, we use iOS for we use Swift for the iOS. O3 is open source and under MIT license. We have the share library, which is written in Go, which can be compiled to the native framework. So like this way, we can move faster by not having to rewrite the same thing in two languages and focus on what really matters, which is the user experience. So when you interact with the blockchain, you are likely to connect to one of the nodes, one of the full nodes on the internet, right? So in order to do that, we do the HTTP tracing from within the app to determine that which node you should be connected to by measuring the latency between your actual device and the node. So if you are in Tokyo, you are likely to connect to one of our nodes in Tokyo. So, and in order to provide more value to our user, right? So we have our own server running some services. One of them is the Neo price service. We provide the near real-time Neo and gas price data into the app and the pricing history to help our user keep track of their portfolio. And we have the notification service and the messaging queue. These two services are used to do the push notification to notify our user when the transaction is recorded on the block. So when someone sends you Neo, when someone sends you gas, you will be notified by the push notification about that transaction. So next, I'm going to hand over to Andre to talk about the financial 2.0 and our plan for 2018.
Yeah, thanks, Apsi. So talking about Finance 2.0, I want to start off with a little story, I guess. So we also get like a lot of support emails from people around the globe, and kind of how Apsi talked about earlier, a lot of these questions like don't really make sense. So one person we got an email from was from Albania, and he was asking me, okay, like how do I buy a Neo through the app? So we're telling you, no, you can't do that. We're not allowing that kind of service. But I want to try and help him out, like figure out. He's like, yeah, well, I only have Albanian lek, I think it's called, and I just told him, you know, we can't help you. Like, I don't know of a reasonable way for you to buy cryptocurrencies with that currency. And I think that's sort of really indicative of like this Finance 1.0 world, right? You have this currency which you're unable to purchase other assets with. So the kind of Finance 2.0 that we really envision is that you're going to have highly liquid digital assets, and those basically are able to function like currencies. If anything is liquid enough, it can function as a medium of exchange. And then you should also have equitable access to those assets, right? There's no reason some person in Albania can't buy some random thing that he wants, random cryptocurrency or whatever. And the user is really in full control of those, right? So that's why our wallet, we make sure that only the user has the private keys. We don't actually hold funds. So to recap, what we're building is kind of the mobile ecosystem for the Neo blockchain. We want to be that gateway for anybody that wants to get involved with the Neo blockchain. And the reason we're building it is to provide that global access to the smart economy. Because, so in 2018, we really want to focus on two groups. And one is obviously the consumers. I think we're doing a pretty good job of that already with the mobile wallets, right? So that's a very consumer-friendly product. And people are interacting with the blockchain, right? So that's a big win for us. But we also want to think of ways of how does an institution interact with a blockchain, right? It's a public network. A public business should be able to interact with it in a user-friendly or enterprise-friendly way, just like a consumer does on a daily basis. So in 2018, we really want to drive adoption with these two groups. So I pulled the unique address count from Ethereum and Neo. So it's around like 600,000, right? So we're still a long way. It's not the perfect measure, but we're a long way from reaching that sort of real adoption scale. But there's a lot of people in the room working on it, so I'm confident we're going to get there. So from the consumer perspective, what's going to drive that? Well, it really depends on these 5 things that we kind of identified. One is that ease of use, right? Is any operation that I need to do on the blockchain, can I do it with a couple taps, right? Is it secure? Obviously, that means the blockchain should not be hacked or the contract shouldn't steal my funds or whatever. But there's also something that's underrated, and that's user error should not lead to some sort of catastrophic failure. If your platform allows for user error to lead to that kind of failure, I would say it is not secure, right? And we've seen that with something like an Ethereum contract. Somebody sends some request, poof, all the money's gone, right? I don't consider that secure. It needs to be convenient, right? I shouldn't have to go through all these hoops and ladders in order to do what I need to do. And it needs to be fast, right? Not just from a speed in terms of absolute time, but in terms of deterministic time, right? Every operation, I should know how long it's going to take to get done. I should know that there's an upper bound on how long it's going to take my transaction to process. And lastly, it's kind of service quality. You know, we're a product, so we obviously do support, so we think service quality is important. But from a community perspective, right, who's out there that can help you when something is going wrong, right? I think there's tons of people on Slack and Discord and whatever that are always online, always willing to help out, which is one of these user-friendly things that's going to drive these blockchain forward. So the other thing I want to talk about is how do we get something like a financial institution to use a public network, right? Even if it means just pushing the smallest amount of data onto the blockchain, we really want to see that kind of thing happen as well. And one of our goals for 2018 is to be able to work on fiat gateways that make sense, right? So I pulled like the top 4 posts of the month on Reddit, and like 4 of them are like GDAX or Coinbase or Kraken lost $20,000 when I tried to wire money back to my bank, right? So clearly the fiat gateway solutions are pretty bad right now. Because the irony is, with this blockchain revolution, is you actually created really big middlemen, and specifically with the crypto to fiat exchanges. All the banks are very happy to let you send your money to Coinbase, but when you try and, or one of these crypto to fiat exchanges, but when you try and go back, you know, you get all those issues that were present on the previous, right? And really, we shouldn't have to rely on taking my money from the bank, putting it in an exchange, being in the crypto world, right? Ideally, I want to go directly from my bank to my cryptocurrency world and back again. And I think the solution for that, and what we think the solution for that, are these tethers, but tethers that aren't like terrifying. That's what we say, because you know, fiat-pegged or asset-backed currencies actually make a lot of sense. And I was really inspired by the original Tether white paper. You know, but these need to be backed by established financial institutions. If your bank is willing to go and back something like a Tether and let you go back and forth, right, it eliminates their risk of KYC and AML. That's one of the reasons that they have all these problems, is because they can't track the money going back and forth. It needs to be redeemable. I actually need to be able to get my money back. And KYC and AML, I talked about already. So here's kind of what we envision in 2018. We can provide a sort of solution. Sorry. We call them anchors, right? So a bank should be able to issue these redeemable anchors that are matched to their reserves. The anchors are going to be represented in smart contracts, right? And then a proof of reserves can be published onto a blockchain. And typically, a bank is much more reliable and good for their assets than potentially some offshore corporation. So the anchor supplies maintain that one-to-one ratio and circulate. And at the end of the day, you can get back your funds. But really, the key difference is, you might think this is very similar to Tether. We don't want to be the corporation that's holding all these funds hostage and need to be compliant in every single jurisdiction and deal with all these headaches. But what we want to do is provide a solution for a financial institution to basically help themselves, to integrate themselves with a public network, right? Because if you can issue the fiat-pegged cryptocurrencies via smart contracts, we don't have to take custodial duty, right? The bank or financial institution can have its own KYC AML procedures that work for them. So what we can provide is basically the software integrations and smart contracts so that you can issue these types of things. We call them anchors, so JPY anchors, basically. And if we can do this, right, we kind of are setting the framework for actually being able to digitize real-world assets. So the easiest real-world asset to digitize is the fiat, right? So if someone can't get that right, forget about digitizing your house, right? Because currencies are discrete units that can be easily translated onto a smart contract or blockchain. If you want to start thinking about digitizing real-world assets like houses or cars, that's a lot more difficult from a technical perspective and sort of the structure of the asset. So that's something we're really looking forward to working on. And of course, accessing those assets you can do using the O3 wallet. So we kind of want to build that whole end experience from your bank to a blockchain and being able to move back and forth between those. So to recap, I think we definitely need the better user experience because the people entering the space, the people involved in the space today aren't the people that were 5 years ago, that know what a private key is, that knows how a blockchain is going to function, that has no risk of messing up, losing their funds, right? We need that user experience to actually reflect the people that are joining the blockchain community. With that, we can sort of build out these finance 2.0 ideals of highly liquid digital assets that can function as currencies. And it's not just about getting consumers on board to get more cryptocurrency. The financial institutions or some sort of enterprise should really try and work to provide that link between the blockchain world and the real world. So we want to work with them to develop a solution for them to be able to do that. So thank you. And we're hiring. So yeah, we're a team of 2 now and hoping to grow our team now. So if you're interested, feel free to come talk to us or email us or check out our GitHub.
Thank you very much.